Right now, jury selection is underway in the trial for a former Clear Creek County deputy who shot and killed Christian Glass.
The county is summoning more than 1,000 people to see who will sit as jurors. Our legal analyst joins us now live to discuss this whole process. Whitney, good morning.
Good morning.
So tell us exactly what we should expect to get going.
Well, on the jury selection process, this is voir dire, and as you mentioned, I think they're actually going to try and bring in 1,500 people, and the idea is they didn't change venue, so it's going to be in Clear Creek County, and they're trying to decide jurors who can be unbiased and really just listen to the evidence. It's going to be hard to find jurors who have never heard of this case, especially in that county. I mean, really in the state, you're going to have difficulty in a lot of ways.
Right.
And so here the question isn't so much, hey, have you not heard anything about it? The question is, can you listen to the evidence? Only the evidence that's presented, and make your decision based on that. So they're trying to get 12 jurors, and then there'll be a certain number of alternates. And based on the voir dire process, that should take about a week, and then they'll start the trial.
One of the important pretrial matters was if previous acts by defendant Buin would be allowed to be presented to the jury.
Yeah.
How did the judge rule on that issue?
Well, it was somewhat of an attenuated issue. So it was a situation they had video of in May of 2019 in the jail where Officer Buin, at the time officer, had essentially gotten aggressive with an inmate, somebody who was in the jail. And they wanted to use that to kind of show his disposition and things like that. The judge denied that motion, and that's not unusual to have these sort of pretrial motions to decide what comes in and what doesn't. And they said, the judge said it was too attenuated and that it didn't really show a logical conclusion. So the judge denied that.
I want to go back to talking about how you find jurors who are unbiased, because I think a lot of people at home are saying in today's world, everybody seems to have an opinion about everything.
Right.
Even if you're not familiar with the case, you're familiar, or do you have, an alliance with law enforcement? Do you have, a bias against law enforcement?
Right. So, and that will be a question, and that's part of the voir dire. That means the interpretation is let them speak. And so this is the really important part of the process, because this is really the only time the lawyers get to talk directly to the potential jurors. And they'll actually say, Mr. Chavez, you have been a part of this organization. Tell us about that. And that's when you'll get to say, yeah, I'm a member of the police fraternal organization, or a member of Black Lives Matter, or some of these other organizations that may have indicate where you stand on that. And so they'll get to those questions, and they'll ultimately ask them, can you set aside what you've heard? Can you just listen to this and be unbiased? And there's some people, I've had many trials where jurors said, no, I can't be unbiased. This is just too sensitive. My dad went through this, my family member, whatever.
Do you ever have times, though, where somebody tries to sneak by and they say, yes, I can, and then surely it messes up the trial a little bit?
Well, it's abundantly obvious. And so during the voir dire process, the lawyers get preemptory challenges. So they get you actually knock off jurors. So there'll be, say, 14 in the box, and you're trying to get down to 6 or 12 or whatever. And so each side gets to scratch jurors that they don't want. So there can be 3 on each side that you get to scratch. And I've definitely had some people before that you could tell were trying to appear unbiased, but they were abundantly biased. And that's where your intuition, that's where the lawyers come in and say, no, this person's saying, yeah, I could be unbiased, but you can tell from their body language or other things that they're not unbiased. And so one side or the other may want to scratch them.
Yeah. And one last question. I know we're out of time, but we know that Buin was one of several officers charged in the death of Christian Glass. Where do their cases stand right now?
Well, as I understand it, I think there were 8 officers in total from a number of different organizations charged. I believe the other 6 all have either, I guess, taken a plea, and those were all for failure to intervene, which was the new law that was passed after the George Floyd protest. And so I think that really highlights the importance of that law in our state, because without that, and if you've watched the video, I watched the whole video, it was a really extreme case. There's investigations that said this was the worst case of excessive force they've seen. This is other law enforcement officers. So I think that's going to be a difficult situation for them going forward.
Well, of course, we know things are just getting started. So, Whitney, we appreciate you helping us get a grasp before that happens. Thank you very much.